right, let's talk about the Houston Texans. This is a football team, of course, that's very quickly risen to the top of the ranks as a contender, not just in the AFC South, but in the entire AFC. Obviously, set up for big time success thanks to the addition of head coach D'Amico Ryans and quarterback CJ Stroud last season. But there's also some new additions to this Texans squad, talking some rookies that are off to a really strong start as well. Let's get into this report, and we'll talk about it more in detail on the other side. This is courtesy of NBC Sports. Cornerback Kamari Lassiter earned a reputation for being tough in coverage at Georgia, and he's shown the same knack when faced with trying to interfere with Stroud's passes this spring. That's put him in the mix for a starting job right out of the gate. And Anderson gave a strong endorsement, talking about Will Anderson here, of what he thinks Lassiter can do in Houston secondary. I've been so amazed by him, man, Anderson said via Aaron Wilson of KPRC. He's been making plays left and right all over the field. He's electric, man. Another young guy that we can't wait to keep seeing grow and stuff like that. And I think he can do great things for this defense and be a part of something special that we have going on here. Head coach D'Amico Ryans, for his part, called Lassiter relentless and attacking on the field, which has him trending in the right direction as the team wraps up their offseason work. Assuming he picks up where he left off come training camp, Lassiter is likely to see a lot of action this fall. Look, obviously, Houston Texans made a lot of big-time moves this offseason that made a lot more headlines, but potentially the addition of Lassiter could have maybe as a big impact as anybody. Here's what your thoughts are on this news, Mize. But first, Texans fans, in the comment section below, we're talking about corners. We're talking DBs here. So I'm going to ask you guys, who is your favorite defensive back in Houston Texans history? Interesting names you can choose from here, but only can pick one. Give us your favorite Texans defensive back in team history and put it in the comment section below. But Mize, give me your thoughts on this report involving Kamari Lassiter and what it means for this Texans defense.
Yeah, Nick, first, I'll give you my favorite Houston Texans DB. It's got to be, it's a little bit more unique pick, but DJ Swearinger. I love the way they played. I liked them at South Carolina. Think he was a great Houston Texans at safety. So that's my opinion. Let's hear your guys's. But Nick, I think Lasser is a very intriguing piece, and I really like when D'Amico Ryans talks good about young defensive players. And I love when a guy like D'Amico Ryans, who was a, relentless and attacking linebacker himself, talks about a corner who's also relentless and attacking, and really that he's been very impressed. I also like the fact that Anderson, another phenomenal player, Texans hit that one out of the park, has already been amazing. He's growing to be a leader on this team, and he as well likes Lasser. Because I think that's good because there's other guys that were recently added to the squad. You think about Jeff Okuda who comes in. You think about Bryant who's been there, but that's a guy in the slot cornerback role for the Texans. I think those are two spots potentially that Lasser has his opportunity to work his way into. I think those are the two weak spots on this roster as far as the corner position goes. Derek Stingley's job is obviously 100%, taken care of. No chance of that one going down. But I think Lasser, he really is impressing. And when you look at his draft profile, you go back and read about what was good at him. They say it's his head, what is up top. He has great play recognition. He's very competitive. He really has a great mental game, very football IQ savvy type of guy. I think that, his stats as far as his measurables are good, but not great. That 4.640, not necessarily blazing fast, but I think he's fast enough, especially if he has the football IQ and vision to diagnose what's going on the defensive side of the ball. So I think this guy's very interesting, and I, like D'Amico Ryan said, I want to see if he can continue following up on this performance going into minicamp, because I think this guy could be the next good corner on this Texans defense.
Well, I think he's going to have to be, right? Because look, obviously the addition of Okuda, talk about CJ Henderson as well. Like you said, Stingley, he's the guy. He's great. He's got that position locked down. But the reality is their number 2 and frankly number 3 spot, there's a lot of question marks. CJ Henderson last year graded out with a coverage grade of 43.9. Okay, and that just wasn't one bad year. The year before he was 48.9, and the year before that he was 46.8. So CJ Henderson, veteran guy, maybe he's a solid number 3, number 4 corner, maybe. But do you want him to be your number two? How about Jeff Okuda, right? Maybe he's better. Last year, 46.0 for the Atlanta Falcons coverage grade, 2022, 54.4, 2021, a limited playing time, but still only 53.0. Again, maybe a good veteran number three corner kind of guy. Maybe that's kind of what you're looking for. But for a number two spot, that doesn't give you a lot of excitement for any defense, let alone a team that's trying to win a championship. So even if you have to rely on a rookie and Lassiter here, it's clear that after Stingley, you're going to need some help at the outside cornerback position. And look, I think Lassiter is a guy who can do it because he played in the SEC. I think that's such an underrated facet with prospects like this, because the SEC is essentially minor league football, right? It has just absolutely just incredible volume of NFL talent, certainly at Georgia, but Alabama, LSU, right? If you can play defensive back in the SEC and do a good job like Lassiter obviously did, then you covered basically half the starting NFL caliber-wise wide receivers, right? And you did it at a Georgia defense that's basically a very complex NFL kind of defense, right? So he's a guy who understands how to play that game at that high level. He understands the pressure element of it. SEC football, big deal, right? Pretty close to the NFL. Some say it's even bigger in some cases. And of course, he had to go against high talent guys and did well. So this is a guy who I don't think he's competing for playing time. I think you're looking at the starting outside corner for the Houston Texans, because I really, listen, nothing against Okuda. I'm rooting for him. Nothing against Henderson. I'm rooting him for too. I both like both those guys, but they're not really, they haven't shown any indication that can be quality outside corners yet, right? Maybe they can turn it around. I hope D'Amico Ryans can do it for him, but I'm not 100% sold on that. I am sold on what Lassiter showed at the University of Georgia, and I think he wins that number two outside corner position.